Welcome, welcome, welcome. And thank you for being here. It's Alana Lockett, money in your pocket, fuel to your rocket, electric to your socket, your favorite chair from the Western region of the National Black Law Students Association. I am so excited to share with you all today's first chair chat of the year. And the guest for today, you don't want to miss. This guy is going to be dropping jewels about how to be successful in law school and how to pass that bar exam on the first try. But before we get started, I want to give a special thank you to Torque Law for being our legacy partner. They have been voted best lawyers for 10 consecutive years, and they are also going to be our title sponsor for our regional convention in Las Vegas, Nevada. So definitely giving a big thank you to Torque Law for that. Also want to say save the date for January 23rd and 24th of next year. We will be in Las Vegas, Nevada for our regional convention. Again, you don't want to miss that. It's going to be great panelists, lots of great workshops, and of course, our gala awards that you don't want to miss. And today I've got our special guest, Aubry. DeAndre Aubry, who is the founder and CEO of Legally Fit. So I want to welcome you on. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're excited to have you. I just want to say I think that this is a really cool program and I can't wait to share it. I met Omarosa this summer and she just raved about your program. And so I'm excited that this first year of this first start of law school, first week, we're able to share your program. So tell me a little bit, what is Legally Fit?
So there's a lot of depth to the company at this point, but simply put, we are an education company that strives for one goal, and that's academic success. And we have essentially two branches that we prioritize at this point, and that is helping our law students. And we have a full suite of resources, materials, and tools to help law students not only do well in law school, but also enjoy the journey. Because I'm sure, as we'll talk about a little bit more, law school can be very dog eat dog, very hide the ball, right? Very cryptic and mysterious as to the things you need to do to succeed. And so, first and foremost, our goal in the law school side is just to bring clarity as to the things that you actually need to do to be successful. It is our belief that there is, in fact, a recipe for success, and that is what we aim to share with students. And then, right, we know law school is just one half of the battle because on the other side of graduation, we have to pass the bar in order to become a licensed attorney. And so we have a full bar prep program that we offer for California bar takers and for UBE bar takers as well.
So when you say UBE bar takers, what does that mean?
So there are about, I want to say it's roughly 27, 28 states that they all sign up for a unified bar exam. That's what UBE stands for, unified bar exam, where these states are unlike California, right? Or some other states that are like, Florida, for example. We want our own exam and we want our own test to test our students for our jurisdiction. These other 27 or 28 states, they sign up for this unified bar exam that's administered by the NCBE, right? But then they'll just have their various state requirements for what the passing score is. But again, they're taking this unified exam created by that organization.
Wow. So you also do California, which is very specific. And then you also have resources for the UBE. Thank you for sharing
Yes.
that. So, how is your program different from like Barbary and a lot of the other programs that are out here?
So on the bar prep side, we are different in almost every single way. We really broke bar prep down to the studs and figured out how to improve it in every arena. Most of what I've created with Legally Fit was, going through law school, going through bar prep, and feeling like there was so much left to be delivered to students to make it, one, a more effective, experience, but also a more enjoyable one. But whenever I'm having these conversations, I do like to simplify what we offer or how we're different into three pillars. And that's going to come down to our materials, our strategy, and our support. So starting off with the material side, this one is easy to just get like brushed under the rug, which is why I tend to start with it. And it's something that you don't really quite get until you're inside Legally Fit. But it starts with the way that we break down the law, right?
Mhm.
The true gift of Legally Fit is taking complex legal doctrine and really focusing on breaking it down to very simple, buildable steps on developing that deep understanding where it's not just you memorizing words on a page or regurgitating, an example that you saw, right? But actually having a deep understanding. And that was how I was able to, graduate top of my class, pass the bar my first attempt, as I spent hours translating this material. And, one thing that I think is also very unique about us and our materials is that we bring it in a very culturally relevant way, right? It's no
Explain what that
mystery.
means.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's no mystery that I am a person of color minority. I am Black. My family comes from New Orleans, Louisiana. So if I got any other credos out there watching, what's up? Who dat? But no, all that to say, I've grown up in a very diverse environment. I grew up in Los Angeles, California. I went to Howard University. So I've been around diversity my entire life. And when I got to law school, I realized there was not much diversity in the way that the law was presented to us. And so I was stuck learning contracts in the context of construction, right? Where it's like, well, I don't know construction and I don't know contracts. So you're teaching me now something in two different languages. So when I say we deliver the law in a culturally relevant way, I'm speaking to the modern student, to the younger student, to the diverse student, where it's, hey, let's learn contracts first in the context of buying some shoes off of StockX, or we're going to Coachella and we're buying a concert ticket, and we have to figure out how to navigate this scenario. And so when we can lower our shoulders and lower the pressure of learning the law, where we see it in relatable ways, when we then take those patterns and then put them into traditional contexts like construction, right, then all of a sudden it's starting to click a lot more. So I think it's just a good way of, making the law, again, a lot more approachable by
Mhm.
giving some familiarity to it, as opposed to, again, learning two different languages at the same time.
I think that's a very interesting approach. I know as Black law students, especially in the West, there are no Black law schools in the West Coast. So we, as Black law students, are going in as a minority and kind of feeling like we are fish out of water, right? Do we really belong in these spaces? Um, and we think that everybody in class understands what's happening more than us because they've had experience in this world before, right? The jargon, the way that people are speaking, the thought processes seems to come to everyone so easily. But for a lot of Black students, we struggle to figure out what's happening in class. Like, how does it sounds like Legally Fit really helps you meet you where you're at as a Black student when it comes to teaching you the law. Tell me, how does Legally Fit work when you are a law student? Not necessarily like ready to take the bar, but really your first year, second year of law student. How does Legally Fit support you in that stage?
Yeah, absolutely. And based off of the way that you frame that question, I actually want to start, somewhere else than I typically start with this question, which is mindset. Something that we offer, but it's not typically what I lead with. But when we're talking about Black students, first generation students, mindset is a big hurdle that we have to tackle in order to be successful. And so, we can have a whole podcast and, 2-hour discussion on the concept of imposter syndrome. But just to touch on it briefly, that's one of the first things that, we want to attack with our whole approach and resources, is to build clarity around, how you're feeling and how to get around that, and the steps to take to start building confidence and not feeling like you're second guessing everything.
Mhm.
So, just to summarize, really what we achieve through our materials and resources is that I try to flip imposter syndrome and first generation from a crutch into a superpower. Right. And I look at imposter syndrome as right. We don't feel like we belong. And so we don't feel like we belong. And so therefore we feel like we're less than in this space and not going to perform as well as the others who do. I don't know what's going on. But I think that's a power because we are aware that we are in an environment that we do not know. And
Mhm.
so when you appreciate that and attack it as such, you should become a sponge and become humble to this new space and ready to learn everything you need to be successful.
Mhm.
And the reason why I think this becomes a power is because, let me tell you, I've been doing this for 11 years. And whether it's, a person who has family members, who are judges, attorneys, brothers, siblings who have just gone through this, a lot of times those students come in with a sense of entitlement, with a sense of ego, that then they are humbled by law school, realizing that, wow, there's a lot of things that I still need to learn. So I think when you have imposter syndrome, you should not have that ego, right? So you're at that humble state to begin with, and it's just a matter of aggressively attacking that to then step into a place of confidence. And so with that said, if we're looking at let's start off with the law school side of how we are attacking that. It starts off with giving clarity as to as I mentioned, that recipe for success. I always ask people, like, would you believe me if I told you there's actually a playbook, a recipe for success? And they're like, what? No, like, it doesn't seem like it's that simple. And I analogize it to, a recipe that you get online, right? Let's say you want to make some gumbo. Let's go back to my New Orleans, roots. When you get that recipe, right, there is a recipe. You have to follow certain steps, but everybody's going to throw in their little extra cayenne pepper, right? Or they might throw in their okra into their gumbo. All that to say there's some variations. And so law school is that way too. And so you have to lean into, what are the resources or the study habits that work best for you, but it's still within a realm of possibilities. So the idea is to share that, starting with how to shape your mindset of starting off law school into giving you the tools to master the fundamentals. You have to know how to note take efficiently. You
Mhm.
have to know what outlining is and how to do it well. You have to know what IRAC is and how it shows up in its different variations,
Mhm.
right? You have to know how to not spend 4 hours reading and briefing for one case, but how to efficiently do that in an hour, because again, you have so much work to do. You can't spend it all reading and briefing.
So how does
After,
Legally Fit help you do that? How is this like videos, or how does the program actually work?
Yeah. So a lot of the skill building things that we're talking about on the law school side, it's going to be through videos, right? And the videos are much like this format where it's a live scenario, and then we have recordings of those live scenarios of me walking through it with students. So it's a bit interactive. It feels as though, like, okay, the question's being asked at me and I'm sitting in the chair right now. But yes, it is in the form of videos when it comes to skill building.
Okay. So you talk about skill building. What are like, can you break down what are those skills that you go over? And is there something more than skill building that Legally Fit offers?
Yes. So the skills start off again with the fundamentals and the mindset that we just mentioned a second ago. From there, you have to then start developing your test taking skills. So I tell this to students all the time, you can understand the law perfectly, be able to articulate it, understand it. But if you can't translate that into a law school final exam answer, right, or multiple choice performance, that strong understanding is not going to get you the A, it's going to get you the B or the C. So we have to master and develop those test taking skills. And then I also create a category for exam readiness skills, right? Just like, what does it mean? And I'm sure you can attest to this, right? Like, going through a set of law school finals is unlike anything else that we probably experienced in education. So just having the know-how of navigating that, right, 3 weeks of finals and the stress of it all and the organization that you need to have with your time management and all those things, like, all those little things can make the biggest, world of a difference when it comes to performance. Yeah. And then I was
Yeah,
going to just
so I know,
that.
like for us, I just finished my last year. Last year, the first test that we took in fall, had no idea what I was doing, and it was a lot like what you said. In class, I understood the law. Even my professors are like, "You clearly understand the law," but when it comes to writing to the exam, I think for a lot of Black students, that's where there's a disconnect, right? They understand by the time they get to the final, they understand it, but it's writing to the exam that makes it difficult. So it's really great that you have this program that actually helps students with that. When should students start investing in this program? Like, should they do this before they start law school, while they're in law school? What does that timeline look like?
Yeah. And before I jump to that question, I did just want to finish the previous question of telling you that it is not just skills that we do. And again, like I think it's awesome to start off that answer with the skills because that's typically the undervalued area of performance and that you need to have the skills. But it's also breaking down the law. Back to what we were talking about a second ago of navigating these difficult topics and understanding it more than just words on a page, but having that deep understanding. So that's in large part what students, come to us as far as their pain point, because a lot of 1Ls, right? It's hard to know if your skills are there, right? You typically find out, as you mentioned, once you went through a set of finals and realized, oh my God, my grades aren't matching up what I thought my understanding of the law was. But the first pain points that students, feel going through a law school semester is like, oh my gosh, this law is piling up and I'm not understanding it. I'm just moving on to the next topic.
Mhm.
And so we have the lecture videos, we have interactive hypos, right? And occasionally we'll even have live workshops that are all geared around breaking down the law in a way that you are understanding the law better and faster, right? And a big part of it is because the law school structure is built off of a case-based method of teaching. They are giving you these 15-page cases for you to extract 1 to 2 sentence takeaways out of each case. And those extractions that then take weeks to build up will make maybe a page worth of actual rules and understanding. Well, with Legally Fit, we reverse that where we give you straight away the big picture understanding and all the meat and all the juice. So in that way, when you're slowly going along it in class, you're already working off of a bigger picture understanding of how that law works. So that's how we end up giving the understanding, increasing confidence when you're in class and being cold called and just navigating the semester because you're not walking in blind and cold to these doctrines.
Say, for instance, a class like contracts. Like, how long would it take a student to go through your program for contracts? What does that look like?
So contracts at most schools is taught in 2 semesters,
Mhm.
right? So, essentially a full academic school year, about 8 months. Our entirety of our contracts, materials, videos, we can help you understand it in about 20 hours.
Wow. It's funny that you said that because last year when I was studying for my exams, and we have reading week the week before we take our exams, and some of the classes, just like you said, you're there, it's building up, you've got so many other things going on in life. My spring semester was packed full of activities and all kinds of things. And so I was like barely reading, quimbying a lot of stuff. And then I was like, I'll get to it on reading week. And I sat there reading week, and one day I picked like a class each day, and I went through case by case, wrote down which law came out of the case, and all this information, quizzed myself. And I sat there and I was like, you know what? Law school really could be a 6-week boot camp.
Yes.
Like,
Yes. And I always say, like, I can help somebody pass the bar who's never gone to law school, right?
that's
Because
crazy.
yes, you're seeing the game of it all, right? The education institution is also a business, right?
Mhm.
And so yeah, it could be a 6 week boot camp, but guess what? They would not get 3 years worth of
They would
tuition.
not get $300,000.
Exactly. So they're like, how can we stretch this out over all this time? Let's do this case-based method where we're going to get one takeaway per class for this time. But it's like, no, like my concept is let's just get straight to it. Which again is like, overall the concept of bar prep, right? When you get to bar prep, you have to revisit about 13 different subjects that you learned over the course of 3 years, and you're touching those 13 subjects in 10 weeks.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
again, it's already proven that there's a method or a structure that lends to faster learning for these topics.
For those of us in law school right now, the idea of taking the bar is just crazy, right? Like, it just feels like such this really big thing. And it also feels kind of far away, but it's not actually that far away. And then this year, somebody had a heart attack during the bar exam. So we're all petrified right now. We're like, is this life? Is this the what we're going into? And apparently the proctor was like, do not make any noise. Do not try to help them. Stay focused on your exam. And, that person could have died there. But it just speaks to like how strenuous this process is and how much we as students, and we're going to talk about us, we be procrastinating. We will wait to the last minute and we're like, oh snap, I gotta pass the bar. I've finished my final exams and I got 2 months to study for the bar. Like, what is the real timeline where we should be working on bar prep?
Man, I'm happy you said it, right? Because yeah, the first thing is like you have to respect your opponent. Right. If you get in the boxing ring with Muhammad Ali, you can't wait till 2 days before to start training. Right. You got to start training appropriately for your needs to make sure you're prepared for that moment. So let's break it down and give you the whole timeline. So and there's different buckets of people. There's first time takers and then there's repeat takers. Let's first talk about the masses, which are your first time takers who are graduating law school. So when you enter your third year, right, you would, finish, you would graduate in May, and then you graduate on, let's say, a Friday, and then you start your bar prep on a Monday, which is crazy, but yes, be prepared for it. And so when you start that bar prep in May, you're doing a 10-week course, right? That's the typical traditional period, is this 10-week course that's a gear up to the actual exam in July. Now, is that time enough to pass? Sure. This time frame, though, is not practical at all, right? Like there is just going to be an immense amount of stress, which for most of us is going to cause more pressure and lower our performance. And again, the reality is you're learning 13 subjects in 10 days. And not only are you having to review the law that maybe you didn't even understand to begin with in law school, now you have to adjust to now the bar test taking skills, because bar test taking skills are also different than law school test taking skills. There's a lot of overlap, but it's still a new standardized test that you have to adapt to. And so can you get away with studying just for those 10 weeks? Absolutely. But do I recommend it for either increased chances of passing or just a smoother experience? No. And so now the question is, how far back do I go? So with Legally Fit, our structure for the average student, right, who is graduating in May and taking the July bar exam is that you should start studying in January. Okay. And so with Legally Fit, for those that come through our doors, we have a structured program. It's called Bar Taker Advantage. And so the way we structure our program with Bar Taker Advantage is that this is essentially, the walk before you run, right? The build up. So we don't want to burn out by the time we get to our May program. And most of us will still have a spring semester. But the idea is that instead of sitting idle and letting anxiety build about this like monster that's waiting for us after graduation, it's like, let's start peeling back the layers of what this is. Let's start refreshing ourselves on the law that we haven't seen in 2 years. Let's start getting a feel for what the study days and expectations look like, so I'm not surprised come May, right? And so you're doing all of these things that when you then get to your May program, as I like to say it, you've got money in the bank. You've already put in hours towards, right, your performance, because at the end of the day, it's kind of like any other major goal. Like, in order to be a master of something, you got to put in 10,000 hours, right? In order to pass the bar, you got to put in the hours. Mm-hmm. So if you put in some of those hours early, you're making it that much easier on yourself in May. So my recommendation is that everybody should start in January. And I do just want to quickly advise that, like, you want to be structured with your start in January, because it's of no benefit to do a self-study that then you are not guided in your approach, where you're not actually having effective study hours. Or a lot of times schools are offering bar prep courses in your final years. Mm-hmm. But the reality is bar prep courses offered by schools just became popular in the last about 5 years or so. And it was because bar passage rates started to significantly drop. but there was not a increase in supply of bar prep professionals to match the bar prep demand of helping these students in these lower pass rates. So what you had are a lot of schools that are simply moving, people from the writing department or from this department into this bar readiness where they're not always necessarily qualified. Now, again, this does not speak for all schools, but just something to be mindful of and question, what is the source of my preparation? And is this something that I'm comfortable relying on? I think it should be something everybody considers.
So now we understand that we definitely, if you're a 1L student, a 2L student, you definitely need to hop on the law school programs. And then if you are 3L, you should be preparing to get involved in Legally Fit's bar prep. How can somebody get your program? Like, how can they find your program?
Yes. So, one, we have a website, which is the primary place to go. On the law school side, we are rolling out this semester. We are launching now within the next week or so our new menu of options that we're super excited about because it's going to create some lower price points for people to be able to experience the magic of Legally Fit. So it's going to start off with our Law Made Simple subscription, and that's going to start off at $29 a month.
Yeah.
And you'll have access to our hypos and our videos and everything you need, again, to better understand the law. We'll have another tier that if you want to add on the skill-based workshops and the skill development as well, you can add that on. In addition to the subscription, we're also going to have the Law Made Simple book series. So we've seen the world of supplemental books out there. And so what we've done is created a 3-in-1 book that brings a structured outline with visual charts and diagrams that brings the law to life with practice hypos and a workbook to see it in action. So instead of having to get 3 separate ones, you can get all of them in one, and those will be available via Amazon here shortly.
Well, we are coming to the end of our segment, but I want to let everybody know that this is not the last time we'll be hearing from you. We've got you scheduled for 2 more chats coming up soon. We'll be discussing bar prep, and then also we'll be discussing exam strategies. And you will also be at our convention in Las Vegas. Is that correct?
Yes, I will be there. Can't wait to see everybody in person. Absolutely.
Awesome. I'm super excited about it. We also want to let folks know down at the bottom of the screen, DeAndre has offered us some free resources. Make sure you go and check that out. The code is the skills and it's case sensitive. So make sure you get a piece of paper, write that down. But also want to share that you guys have an opportunity to connect because there's like a community that's involved, and being part of Legally Fit as well. And you guys have an event coming up.
Yes, we have an event coming up on August 31st. Yeah, there it is. It's called Legally Fit the Reunion. We're going to be having a lot of our alumni come and also a lot of our current students to be a part of this. And so, yeah, a big part of Legally Fit while you're in school, in bar prep, is our community and also afterwards. So it's going to be a great day to come out, enjoy the sun. If you are in Southern California, meet some other people in the space. And again, it's all about just good energy and academic excellence. And that's where you'll find it on August 31st.
Awesome. I'm definitely going to be there. So I'm looking forward to seeing other law students there. And you guys, if you ever want to meet with the chair, send me a message. Hit me up on Instagram. I'm the person that responds to the Instagram. I'm wearing multiple hats, but I'm looking forward to connecting with everyone in our region and even law students outside of our region. Let's give a special thank you to DeAndre. Thank you so much. We appreciate you and we will see you soon.
Sounds good. See you soon.
Well, guys, that is our first chair chat, and I am so excited that you stayed with me through this process. I hope you learned something. I got to wear my chair earrings. If you know, then you know. Okay. And make sure you stay tuned for our next segment, which is going to be later this evening with Flavia Santos Lloyd. She's going to be talking about the future of immigration. We know with this administration, so much has changed. And what does that mean to people who are interested in going into the field of immigration law, but also what that means for families all across the country. So definitely make sure you check that out. And I look forward to seeing you all later. Bye.